Thank you, Charles. And good evening to everyone, delegates and visitors to the Coalition of San Francisco Neighborhoods. I'm pleased to be able to just talk a little bit about Rescue SF. It was started by a couple of other people as well as me. Lori Brook, who is the president of Cow Hollow Association, Mark Nagel, who is in the Marina Neighborhood Association. I've got the title wrong, but anyway. Um, and Marlene Morgan, who's was formerly president of Cathedral Hill Neighborhood Association, also founding the Venice corridor of neighborhood associations, the 11 neighborhood associations along Venice Avenue. So we all got together along with other people in February of 2020. Really, it was prompted by the perceived and real increase in homelessness and related issues on our streets. Just to put it in context, by 2019, the number of people living on our streets and public spaces had nearly doubled since 2009. And it's looking back, it's been a long 5 years of efforts to improve San Francisco's homelessness response. And this is not me saying RescueSF takes credit for this. No, we're part of many, we, and along with many, many other people and organizations, have been um, really advocating for change. So we've seen some new programs with varying levels of success, and we've also seen continued issues. Over the last 5 years, fentanyl became the leading cause of overdose and deaths. That seems to have abated a bit, but it's been still very serious. And along with that, severe mental illness continues to afflict too many with too few beds to treat them. And overall, we all know we don't have enough shelter and housing for those who are living on our streets. Yet, and this is where I want to kind of spend some time tonight, my focus is more about what we have accomplished, because I think we don't always stop and look back and see what's happened and what has changed and what have people like ourselves, people who are residents, people who might be small business people or affiliated with other organizations, are able to accomplish. And I think this is an interesting view case. I don't want to call it a case study because no one studied it per se, but an interesting story to tell. That in 2025 we can see significant changes in the city's policy and strategy, and I do believe that residents and small business owners and other stakeholders have played a significant role in changing the city's response. A couple highlights just to help us see where we were. It's now the city's policy to provide shelter to all those who will accept it. And it was letters and public comment from residents and neighbors organizations, small businesses, the hospitality sector as well, and other stakeholders that were instrumental in getting that policy adopted. It was legislation sponsored by Supervisor Mandelman and others, called A Place for All, that was passed by the Board of Supervisors almost unanimously in 2022. San Francisco stepped up its efforts to resolve encampments to get people off the street and into shelter or even housing when it's available. There's now only 165 tents on our streets, according to the city's last count in June. That's down from over 600 in July of 2023. In August 2023, a demonstration in front of the federal courthouse asking the judge to lift the injunction against San Francisco's work to resolve encampments and get people off the streets helped turn the tide. There was a pretty big crowd. I think we had about 250 people out there, well covered by the media. And it just reflected what a lot of people were thinking and feeling, that we weren't being effective and we weren't even being compassionate by letting people stay on the streets. The recovery community has led the effort to get abstinence-based treatment as better funded and something that is more advocated for by the Department of Public Health. And residents have also helped with that. So I think, we really need to, understand, and these are just a few highlights, of how much people, ordinary people like ourselves, and many, many others have helped our city become, I think, more effective and more along with not dropping our compassion around the issue of people who are unhoused with either falling into homelessness, for a very short period of time, or even being prevented from falling into homelessness through prevention programs and aid that the city provides, or being chronically homeless, which is the group that unfortunately has the hardest time and is the most affected by the conditions in the streets. So where are we now? In 2024, the voters picked Daniel Lurie over Mayor Breed to lead the city. And how has Lurie delivered so far on the issue of homelessness? Is he on track to reduce homelessness? Well, he pivoted away from his campaign promise of standing up 1,500 more shelter beds by this June. Instead, he argued that abstinence-based recovery beds and transitional housing to treat addicts are the greater need. And we can certainly debate that or talk about that another time. But he also has gone after and received state funds to nearly 30 million in state mental health funds to actually build facilities, not just provide treatment, but we need beds for people who are seriously, seriously ill on the streets to get back to stability. He's done other things that have been in the press, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about them. And they're promising programs, but the question still remains, is the administration executing with enough scale to turn the tide? How will he address and measure the impact of his efforts, which he talked a lot about performance management, a lot about measurement. So we're still waiting to see what that will mean for those who are at risk, for those who fall into homelessness but get rehoused within months, and those that, as I said a moment ago, are chronically homeless for over a year, often with multiple disabling health conditions. And finally, of course, how does San Francisco leverage its existing funds and obtain more funds, including, as Mayor Lurie has gone after, private donations to pay for the interventions for each of these groups? So we're, I think, at an interesting turning point or inflection point. But I also think that we should all feel good about the efforts that we've made to get our city to this point in its journey. There's many, many cities that are just ill prepared, not providing providing a minuscule response to homelessness compared to what our city does. So, and we've helped to get it there in focused on the things that we think are important now. That's my spotlight.
Questions for Carolyn? Carolyn, I was wondering, has President Mandelman yet had the public hearing on his conservatorship program?
Yes, that was in June. It was paired with a hearing on the number of mental health treatment beds that the city has and the number that have been funded. And I think that the $30 million is going to get us 73 more beds. There wasn't much progress on conservatorships. There have not been many people conserved. It's pretty confounding. There was the state law actually provided a broader basis for conserving people. So, and then the mental health treatment does appear to be on a more solid track. Daniel Tsai, who's the new director of public health, I think that's his title. He's the head of the public health department. Was there answering a number of questions along with, I'm going to forget her name, the head of behavioral health, Dr. Sorry, I'm having a senior moment here. So the other hearing that I believe is coming up this month is on treatment on demand, which is an annual review of how many people San Francisco since 1995, I think it is, has had a law that we will provide treatment for anyone who wants it. at the time that they present themselves, knowing that it's so critical for people who are addicted, that so critical in the getting on the path to recovery, to be able to get into treatment as soon as you present yourself and say you're ready. So, um, yeah, thank you, Mari, for that comment in the chat. You're right. That's exactly what happened in June.
I just like to keep notes as I'm going.
Oh, you're noting down. Okay, I thought you also independently had been at the hearing or heard about it. So
No, I was keeping notes on what you said.
okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope this. I didn't really intend this to be a big call to action, because I think we're waiting to see what the new mayor will really do, and he's what is he now, 8 months into the job, but more, I think, mm, as I said earlier, I think we all should, really um, look back and see where we were and where we've come from, and how I do believe that residents, neighborhood associations, other stakeholders, other organizations have contributed to this progress in very good and meaningful ways.
I have a question. Do you know what's being done about violent people with mental health issues? I read an article in that there isn't the facilities for treatment, and they're just continuously released on the street, and they're a danger to themselves and others.
Right, Deborah, and that was the hearing that was held in June with the new director of mental health, Daniel Sy. He used to be the head of Medicaid in Massachusetts, and he's an MD. So he's actually I hope, is going to be a really effective new head of Department of Public Health, because we just seem to continually cycle people into the SF General and out, and he truly you know acknowledged this, and seemed to have a grasp on the issue, and the need to address it. These 33 or these 73 beds will really help. They're locked in a locked facility, which sounds like jail, but you know what? If anyone has had a family member in memory care, they're in locked facilities too. It's a place that's safe. It's intended to keep people safe you know, while they're impaired. Um, so that's underway. It's hard to find getting the money is one thing. Actually, getting the beds a real steep challenge. Um, but they're working on it. That's probably Raphael Mandelman's key issue that he has cared about more than anything else, and worked sort of assiduously for the last 7 years or 6 years that he's been on the Board of Supervisors, to get more resources and get it to work.
Right.
And Mary Eliza, did you have another question?
Yeah, I just had a really quick one, and I'm sorry, that is based kind of on what our conversation was last month about the ambassadors. I've been trying to find out what's happening with regard to the plans to remove them from the streets, particularly in that Marina neighborhood where they've accepted a facility. And just because I happen to be looking at the maps, which we're all too familiar with, some of us these days, it appears that that area where that one hotel is that was supposed to be turned into a shelter is now part of the upzoning plan. So it looks like that may not really be going on for very long. I'm sorry, that was just my only comment and question. If
Yeah.
anything is known about whether or not there will actually be some people out on the street around there or not. But
Yeah, isn't that also abstinence-based recovery? I'm not sure if I'm correct in that, but I think it's not simply a homeless shelter. I believe it's dedicated to recovery for people who are addicted to drugs or alcohol.
I
And
think
those,
it's,
Mhm.
that's what I understood, but it's only within the last 6 months or something. So it's not like they're really ready necessarily to be, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, thanks
Yeah,
for
it's,
the report.
I will say this, I mean, the other abstinence-based treatment centers are really, really vigilant about ensuring that people stay where they are, and that they're not like out on the streets just hanging out, because that is what leads you back into falling back into addiction, or into drug use. And uh, secondly, that the neighbors are comfortable with the facility. And those centers have been very successful. There's also a navigation center on the Embarcadero that similarly the neighbors opposed. They came up with a whole set of agreements, and they've given them reports, and everything's gone well. In my neighborhood, Valencia Street, there's a former Salvation Army community center that was converted to a drop-in for actually a 24-hour respite center. And again, there were issues, and they've been dealt with. There was a lot of work done to make sure that that would be run in a way that wouldn't disturb the community.